Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview covering Dreamhack Dallas 2024. For this occasion, I have here with me a man by the name that goes by the name of Floofys. Floofys, quite an interesting name. But before we kind of get into just the background, your life, your career, everything else of that nature, how are you feeling? How are you taking in this entire convention so far?
It's been incredible. I definitely had maybe a teeny bit too much to drink last night with one drink, and I've had maybe a little bit decaffeinated. I've fixed that in this afternoon and finally kind of becoming human again. So feeling pretty good.
What happened last night? What made you want to just drink that much?
I didn't even drink that much. I had one Long Island iced tea. I think it's more the fact that I've been lacking caffeine. So I flew out here yesterday. I took a 7 a.m. flight. I had one Monster in the morning before my flight, and then just nothing until like this afternoon, where I had a Monster, and then I had a coffee, and then I had another Monster, and I think it was just the lack of caffeine catching up with me.
But now you're fine, right? Now you're all good, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say all good. I could probably use a little bit more sleep. Dreamhack is a time where you're hanging out with friends and you're watching, esports. You're walking around the convention hall, and so a lot of the time you can end up kind of lacking sleep by the end of it. But I'm getting there.
You're getting there, and you definitely look good in getting there as well.
Thank you.
Well, gotta ask about the obvious, Floofys. Why the name? What made you just want to use that name first and foremost?
So back in college, I was trying to think of what my username should be. Before that, I had my name as my last name and then kid. And I was like, I'm in college, I should have a different name. And I went through a bunch of different names, and I was playing Dota with some people I met in the dorms, and I kind of put my hands up to my head, and I'm like, my hair is kind of fluffy. So I put that as my name, it's just Fluffy. And that was the nickname that stuck. And then later on, I was like, well, Fluffy is a nickname that's taken by everybody. So I just took Floofys instead.
Okay, so you made a different variation of the name.
Yes, that's what I did.
For sure. Now, getting into, your occupation, what do you do? What do you do in this huge realm that we call esports/gaming?
Well, so my full-time job is actually outside of esports. It's actually outside of gaming. I'm a software developer, and I've been working in just like corporate software development for the better part of 10, 11 years or so. I've been in and out of various places. I've worked in big tech, I've worked in little tech, I've worked in startups, I've worked in big established companies. But yeah, that's always been my thing. I went to school for computer science because I do really enjoy solving puzzles. But more recently, the pandemic kind of allowed me to try and start streaming, like a lot of people did. And after a bit of a bumpy ride, I ended up trying out casting, just actually only a little over a year ago, and that was the thing that ended up sticking.
And what kind of games do you kind of cast, and what kind of games do you cover in general?
So at the moment, it's just Counterstrike. I started with Counterstrike, and that's where I'm working to just gain experience and just try to work with as many people as possible. Looking around, one of my favorite things that I've seen is Launders casting the GeoGuessr. But I'd like more opportunities to get in front of a camera and talk about what's going on. It's a good time.
What got you into casting? What was the moment that you saw and you said, okay, let me try my fill in this.
So I had a couple of friends from Counter-Strike that were going to try ESEA Intermediate Season 45, and I was like, all right, well, it's all open IP, right? All right, cool. I'll go try and cast your games. And early on, I didn't really know too much about what I was doing, but it was just, hey, I'm going to hop into Discord with a couple of friends, and we're going to talk about what's going on. And I took that for a couple of games, and then for a couple of games I went and did it by myself, and it just kind of kept going and going and going with that. And eventually I applied. I got to cast ESL Challenger League, which is it's like the path to pro for a lot of players. It's a place where a lot of people will get discovered and actually get onto pro teams. And from there I just kind of kept doing it. I casted at a Fragadelphia. For Nouns, they recently had me cast for David's Cup for the charity tournament to commemorate Cynic, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year. And I'm just continuing to look for more opportunities.
What would you say has been like the highlight of your casting career so far?
So I would give you two. The first one is my first game where I was given basically permission to put my stream on HLTV. So if you don't know HLTV, it's the place that you go to if you're like, I want to watch these two teams play. I see that they're playing. Where are the streams where I can watch them? And so they'll make sure to put streams where you can watch all of the teams playing. And I didn't at the start of my stream have it on there. Yeah. And then, as I think it was halfway through the first game, I had a bunch of people coming in and being like, hey, you're on HLTV. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I kind of lost the plot of the game halfway through because I was just like, wait a minute, people are watching. Like, my numbers went from like, a couple dozen to a few hundred. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, now what? All right, cool. So that would be one highlight. The second one would just be casting in person for the first time. Being at Fragadelphia and casting for games that I was sitting a few feet away from. And getting to cast with some people that have been doing it for a long time. So I got to cast with Bach, I got to cast with Davey, and it was just a really good time.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely one that I feel like it's something that not the average caster or anyone else would be able to say, okay, yeah, I did that, but you've done that. Now taking the perception or perspective from now, the present, to the future, what do you kind of see as like your ultimate goal? Your end all be all goal. What do you kind of look at that as?
So I'm kind of split on this because there's a part of me that's like, hey, there are people in there like Darth Mike that's been doing this for about 6-7 years, and he's up there on the stage being the host. That seems like a pretty good goal, but at the same time, I feel like it's tough to gain experience, right? Because I am working full time doing something else. So I need to figure out how to balance casting along with working full time in order to find a spot where I can maybe make one of those make casting be more of the main thing. We recently, the past few years, we've been going through what a few people have been calling as an esports winter. Mm-hmm. A lot of teams are pulling out, casters are not able to make as much money, teams are not able to make as much money, and with that, a lot of things are going back to, hey, you do it because it's a passion thing. But because of that, you need to make sure you have a real job. And so I can't just sit here and be like, I'm going to cast, everything that comes along. I have to pick and choose. So just trying to gain as much experience I can in the areas that I can.
Has there been moments in which you basically had to juggle both things at one time?
Oh, yeah. The big one was the RMRs recently. So we had the major a couple months ago, and they had the RMRs before that, and it was really cool. At the time, I was unemployed, so I was able to cast a lot of it, but then I found a job, and I'm like, all right, cool. This means I can't cast during the day anymore because I have to work. All right. And it was just kind of a shift of like, all right, well, I have to go back to, focusing on work. But it's really hard to focus on work when now I'm so invested with all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of finding that balancing act.
Do you feel you've been able to do that, find that balance for yourself between, the things that you want to do and the things that you have to do, as in like workplace and stuff?
I'm trying to. My job says, I'm doing well so far, but I definitely sometimes feel like I need to be putting a little bit more of my effort toward my work and less toward casting, even though I want to put more towards casting, but,
Yeah, but the main thing is just for you, the desired goal. Just to go casting, right? Full time, right?
Well, and again, I want to go casting full time, but I also know that it would not be the same kind of paycheck that I'm used to working as a software developer. So it's just, there are a few things that I want to get to before I'm like, all right, now I'm ready to be like, cool, I can take a lower paying job. The first one would be, I want to get married because I'm engaged right now. Next step is get married. We're working on that. After that, move to a place that's a little bit bigger, because right now my fiance and I work out of the same office, so sometimes my casting can be a little bit of an annoyance. It's one of those, all right, I need the room, I'm going to be here for a couple hours, so you can't use your computer. So it's a little bit of a balancing act there. And then, so move to a bigger place, and then just, make sure that I do have the resume as a caster where I can continue to get gigs. I don't want to be like, all right, I'm casting full time. Anyone want to hire me? No, they don't. All right, cool. So right now I'm just trying not to step on any toes. I'm trying to, figure out my own style and just shake as many hands as possible.
I understand that. One more question before I wrap it up. It's one that I've been asking at the end of every interview so far in this convention. For given everything that you've been talking about, your career, your life, your desires, your workplace, your workplace on the side, and then everything else surrounding that. What kind of keeps you going? What kind of keeps you just continue to pursue your passion in just casting, working in esports, and just all of that jazz?
So at the moment, it's that I can keep seeing continued growth. It's going to places like Dreamhack and being like, oh, people recognize me. I literally hit Twitch Partner yesterday, so that was a big motivator in being like, well, I guess I should keep going. Like, if Twitch is going to recognize me, I may as well, keep trying, keep casting, keep streaming, keep doing all of that. But I mean, on any journey, there are going to be bumps in the road. There are definitely times where I would be like, I'm going to stream tonight. 3 hours later, that was a waste of time. So I guess keep that in mind, and know that sometimes there are more bumps than others. But as soon as I saw that I was gaining a lot of growth and I was hitting very, very quick milestones when casting, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll see where it leads me over the course of this year. See where I end up.
And we'll definitely see what happens for you in the future. Floofys, thank you so much for taking the time. Really do appreciate it. And thank you again for reaching out to me, making this happen. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yep.